some belts around her ankles because he figured she's dead, she's not going to feel anything if the skin gets ripped or there's pain or maybe even a little broken bone here and there. It wouldn't matter now because it was highly doubtful that fellow was going to get back from Indiana with that damn medical guy. But you know, about the time that they were dragging Hillary up there, they hear a plane buzzing over their heads, and damn if something didn't come flying out of the plane. It was a package, and it landed with a little parachute. It landed right there beside the cabin. So Modesto runs up to it and he opens the package. Ah! He opens the package, and what's in that package? Huh? Oh, let's have a little guessing here and there. Well, I'll tell you, it was something that they really needed a lot of, and that was the man's machine, huh? The Red Cross man's machine. They didn't really need the Red Cross man. They just needed his machine, and they took a flight, a little private flight on an airplane, and they flew this contraption that this guy, when we figured he'd come in, he was going to come later. He had a Harley he wanted to try. He just bought it. It was one of those soft tails, but it was still good. It had a lot of lights and whatnot, so extras, and damn big Harley Davidson siren on the side of it, which was altogether something he wanted to try out, because there was a law in Indiana that if you could assign yourself as a justice of the peace or a police person if the citizenry required it. It was an old law, but it was there in the books. They hadn't taken it out, and so he took advantage of that law because every chance he got, he imitated and made everybody think he was a new highway patrolman on a Harley of all things. And those guys don't ride Harleys anymore. They usually go with the big BMWs, you know, the machines that really can make it down the road and are comfortable and whatnot. But the Harley is a real man's machine. A real man's machine, okay? You got to be a man just to put up with the vibrations that come out of the handle on the, hey doggy. Your hands, after you ride a Harley for about an hour, your hands are going to shake for another day or two before they gradually come, you get that hum out of your body. Your whole body is shaking and jumping and firing and fighting, and for a good couple of days after you get off a Harley. Well, that's really for these tough guys, and you got to be a little overweight, okay? If you're underweight, you have no business being on a Harley. You got to also, it helps to have some old scruffy looking clothes on and a beard. And a beard, and kind of look like you're giving the world this kind of like, I've been the victim so many times that I don't give a shit anymore look on your face. And you also have to have a little bit of a kind of crazy look, kind of like I'm at my wit's end look in your eye. And also wear some little helmet, which is the absolute minimum, so you're giving the world the finger, like if you hit your head, so be it, you know. So it's an attitude, you know, and these guys, they so that's the way I like the helmet, dude. I like helmets that look kind of like that. So anyway, so they dragged her up to the thing. They took her in the house. She snagged herself a couple of times on some nails that were in the floorboard there on the porch as they dragged the Hillary up on the porch. and then slither her in like a big bag of cement into the living room. But they couldn't drag her anymore because her flesh was just gripping the floor. There was some sort of, she'd run out of lubricant material on the natural secretions of the skin, and now she was just glued to the floor like somebody put super glue. So she was super glued. Essentially, it was a chemical kind of thing. It'd take too long for me to explain the equations. But just trust me, it was like super glue. She was super glued, face down, to the hardwood floor of this cabin out in the middle of nowhere in southern Michigan. Well, occupied by a bunch of damn hillbilly drug dealers, okay? And Modesto was like the man in charge, and he had this little squirrely green man or albino man running, driving a van back, trying to trace his steps back to find out, but then here comes the damn thing in the air. So now we got it. So how are we going to plug it in? There's no electricity out here, okay, but what do we got? We got, Modesto seems to think that he can make the car charge it. This thing, you know, that a 12-volt battery ought to work just as well as AC current.
Hi, Slomo.
Hey, doggy. And so they spread Hillary out on the porch, front porch of this little cabin out in the dark. It was still dark. And they couldn't remember exactly where to put the electrode. So one of them just said, well, it's obvious where we should put it. And everybody looked at each other, and then one of them just grabbed it and jammed it. Jammed it in the old you-know-where. And it was already messed up all in there after getting that injection from Dr. Beback right in the tissue of a big bleeding hemorrhoid. But, you know, science was science, and they were trying to be doctors, even though none of them had even volunteered for a second in a hospital anywhere to help a sick person. They were all frauds. Frauds don't spend any time doing anything like a hospital work. Everybody knows that. Anyway, they had their crisis actor friends that also knew the method, and they were thinking, like, let's get a bunch of crisis actors and have a big false flag, and maybe we can lure Slomo in to investigate, and then we can have Hillary, if we can bring her back with this contraption, she can jump out of a tree or something like that and kill him with one of those weapons of hers. And then that'll settle this thing, and we can all go home.
Come back. Good enough.
So Hillary was still, you know, dead by the neurological definition, which is very important. You have to have no electrical activity for 24 hours. Now, they didn't have an encephalogram. All they had was this damn contraption that dropped out of the airplane. So it was a big problem getting the power of the thing up, but they finally hooked it up to the damn distributing cap of the boat engine. I like that. Nothing quite like it.